Hello and welcome. We have hit 20 episodes of DataCube's online training. We're still on the topic of Google Data Studio. This is episode 8 of 8 of Google Data Studio. And something we haven't really touched on in this kind of short series is creating extra fields, functions, formulas. So that's what I wanted to speak about here. We're not going to go into crazy depth, really complicated formulas. We're just going to use the basic sort of pre-made functions that are available in Google Data Studio. So let's go straight in and see what we can do. Okay, here we are back in Data Studio, and something, as I mentioned, we haven't touched on is creating new fields. So you'll see when I click on the table, if you notice from previous episodes, I've got some extra fields in here. So kind of the ones in green, apart from the concat sales value there. These are all the ones coming from that raw data set that we've been using for the last few months. Now if I get rid of that, that's a pre-made one. So we could do these sorts of things. But we have a limit with what we can do just because of the fields we have. So sometimes it's necessary to create more fields than you have in your raw data. So I've created some here. So average number of sales, count distinct dates, so how many dates have we entered data for, count how many products we have, our maximum value, our minimum value, the sum of all our value put together, and concatenation of sales and value, just to show how that works. So now we have a bit extra to play with. So if I add in a chart, not a data set, and just say we wanted a scorecard, we've got some extra flexibility, some extra fields we can do. So for example, average number of sales that we've made, the maximum value, so max value of any product on any date, the minimum value, what's the minimum of those, how many products have we got, over how many dates are we looking, this sort of thing. Now you'll see count products, that's 1, 2, 3, so it's actually summing up the number of products over the number of dates that we've got. So times by 7. But this is to give a feel of extra value, extra fields that we can create to make our data sets more interesting and be able to add a bit of insight. So how do we do this? So we've got our data set, our grocery shop. So what we can do is edit that data source. So click on that pencil next to it. And we make this a bit bigger. And you can see here we've got our sort of raw fields on the top one for now, and these metrics, and these are things I've created apart from that record count, which is auto-created field. So how do you do this? So top right, we've got add a field, so we can do that. And or you can edit a field, so let's say for example average sales, we've got that in there. But what we want to be doing here is to create new fields. So just say we wanted to know how many distinct products we have. So let's write distinct count products. So this is the title, this is what the field's going to say. And they have a field ID which is pre-populated, so we don't need to change that. So all we have to do for this is count, and straight away it's coming up with 2 possible solutions. So there's, or 3, sorry, 1, 2, 3. And also some fields that we've already had. So it's sort of searching through the pre-built functions that it has and fields that we already have. So in this case I want to count distinct, and I just start typing the product, it just comes up straight away. And it pops it in the brackets for me, and I get a green tick. I can press save. Now if I go back to all fields, count distinct product, there it is, and I can hit done. It takes me back here to create another scorecard, and count distinct product, distinct count products, 90. Perfect. And we can see that's right because We have 19 products in this list, 1 to 19. I'll have to make this a bit longer. To see all our products, there'll be 19 of them, so it's counting those. So I could spend some time going through all the different functions and formulas that we could create by adding fields, creating new calculated fields, but this is all documented, so what I thought would best be doing is point in the right direction and also talk through some of them. So there's a great link here for Data Studio to help. So on Google Data Studio you can search for anything you want. Get started, connection, visualize, share, manage. But the link that's quite useful is under create and edit data sources. This is basically what we're talking about, and it's sort of categorized everything into different categories, and within there we've got calculated fields. So that's what we're doing by creating these new fields using functions and formulas. And there's a great reference here if you know what you're looking for, and if you don't know what you're looking for to that level of detail, so you might not know concat is to concatenate two fields, to add the values of two fields together, then there is great function reference, not function reference, sorry, that's what we just said, the function list. Now that tells you the type, the name, the description, and the syntax, so sort of an example of how you write it. So for example, if I wanted to average all our fields, average a field together, what is the average of a field? So for example, what is the average sales across all time or split by day, whatever it is, then it's under aggregation, it's AVG, returns the average of all values of X, so average X. So back in here I've created average sales. So if I add a new chart, let's say a table, and I'm just going to be up in line with this one, and we've got average sales here as a metric. And let's put that one back in. Let's put this to average sales. 92.43. But you could say, what is the average number of sales by date? So we average that many sales, or maybe it's more important by product, as the data is actually split by date. So on average over time, we could say, if we sort this by average sales as well, with descending order, we can see on average we sell 165 aubergines, and we know that this data is at monthly, so we on average sell 165 aubergines a month, 165 spinaches, 149 cauliflowers, and so on and so forth. So if I extend this down, we'll go all the way to the bottom. With tomatoes, we only sell an average of 33 of those per month. So it adds an extra dimension, not just where we had before of just value and the number of sales we've made. We can now add a bit of value by creating extra fields. So what I thought would be useful is just to go through this list and pick out some of the most commonly used functions. So average we've picked, case is really useful. So this allows us to do what we'd call case when in something like SQL. So for example, case when your product equals aubergine, then 1, else 0, end. So that would say over the course you'd get an extra column created, and every time someone's bought an aubergine, it would put a 1 in that row. So we can, or case when Mrs. and Ms. and Miss, or gender equals Miss or Mrs. or Ms, then female, else male. So just to aggregate some categories together. This cast change, you can change the data type. What other ones? Concatenate. So if we want to know have a field of sales and the value of the sales together. So just say we had 10 sales in week 1 and the value was £100, it would say 10 100. Count, so count how many times something happened. The number of values, count distinct, the number of distinct values. So back to here, we did a count on products, which 133, which is true, but that's also how many times that occurred. But distinct products, we had 19. So current date's really useful, so we can say, okay, these all happened. If I change this to date instead of product, we know these happened in January to July. We might want to know what's the date difference between July and now. So we could have a last transaction date, and it would be the date diff between July and the current date. So that would be 5 months. So you could add a field there and create a date diff, which is just here. This date diff one here, difference in time between 2 dates. What else is useful? Day. All these date ones are really useful. So if you had a date, you could extract just the day. You could extract just the month. You could extract the hour. If you had a date time field, you could extract the year, the day of the week. Image could be really useful if you're using image in your data set, so it converts a field to an image, so it knows to display it as a picture. We have max, so what is the maximum value? So the maximum value we had was 288. The minimum was £3.33. So maxes and mins are really useful. There's a medium, so an average. What else will you find useful on a regular basis? Sum, so the sum of all our values, so adding everything together. It's an addition field. And I think that would be the most useful. But anyway, what I wanted to raise more than anything was that this documentation exists and it's really useful. And there's also some tutorials in here which are probably far better than mine. So what I'm going to do is I'll put this link in the caption underneath this video, so you can have a look and play around. I'll put a few different levels on this, these 3 different levels, so that you can easily browse and see what helps you for your current situation. So when you have a problem, you need to make a new field, then you have that library and that content that will help you along the way. So that kind of wraps up Visual Data Studio. It's been a short 8-second episode, 8 episode series. So we're going to be back next week as well, but we're moving on to Tableau. We have 12 episodes lined up with great structure. We'll be kicking off with a basic introduction, sort of what is Tableau, how do you use it, is there license and fees, that sort of overview that we need to know before we start using the BI product of Tableau. So make sure you tune in for that, it's going to be great. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you then.